So imaging, this moves on to brand stuff, radio station brand stuff rather than client-led stuff. So why is radio imaging so important? We've talked about this a lot already, and I won't dwell on it, but obviously the points are there. With over 40 radio stations in the country, you need to make sure that when a listener flicks onto your radio station, they know who it is that they're listening to. So as well as the music, the tone of voice through the imaging, it's the station voiceover, it's the style of production. Is it easy listening, Q102 or Sunshine, or is it like really hot and intense and in your face spin? Do you know what I mean? So every brand has its format and its style and its tone of voice. And I suppose just to kind of give you some examples of that, let's compare Spin and 98 FM. I suppose, Pat, do you want to talk us through how you do the imaging for 98 FM and the filter that you run all your decisions through for the brand?
So just to explain, Nick and myself sit next to each other all day long.
Yes, we
do the same thing, but in a very different way, because we have two completely different audiences. So just comparing 98 to Spin, 98 FM, our bullseye listener is a 38-year-old, and we know it goes 10 years either side. So anybody who we're targeting is in their mid-20s to mid to late 40s. So instantly I know who our audience is. They're probably young professionals, young families, people who were going on their first holiday in like the late 90s, early noughties. They were going out discovering life in the early noughties, and that's where their memories live. Our station motto is Dublin's Good Times. So everything we do is through that lens of having a good time. We only play dance and R&B tunes, which means it's always like a party on 98 FM. We always play the big, big tunes. And Dublin is at the center of everything we do. So whether that's someone we're giving a shout out to on air, or if there's a gig on, it's always centered around Dublin, and it's always right for what we see as our bullseye 38-year-old listener. And that helps us to make decisions on, are we giving away the correct concert tickets? Are we talking about the right show on Netflix? What are people doing this weekend? Is there something on they can bring the kids to? Is there an event on that they might like to experience? And that's where 98 FM is.
Absolutely. Yeah. Spin. And I know I took you through Spin last time while I was chatting with you, but just to recap, we're 20s brand, but obviously, as Pat said, we go 10 years either side. But 27 is the bullseye. We play hit music. What's hit music? It's music that's a hit, current hits, chart music. And that's our positioning statement, hit music now. And that's reflected through our music proposition. We play 10 Spin hits in a row. And we introduce new music to our audience. We also play what we call recurrence. So songs that were big hits in the last 3 to 5 years. That would have been top 10 songs. So you're only ever going to hear a song that is a hit, was a hit, or will be a hit. That's our whole strategy with the music for Spin. And the style of music, as Pat said, they focus on, in 98 FM, they focus on dance and R&B. For Spin, we don't really have a defined genre. The genre is defined by what's in the charts. So for example, over summer, it can be very dance heavy. Festival season. Now we're moving into winter. You got things like Lewis Capaldi and Ed Sheeran popping up. Even Pink dropped a song the other day that's an absolute banger, but it's not like a dance track you would normally hear on Spin, but it's charting. It's a hit, so we're playing it. And we're also a networked brand on Spin. So we have Spin Southwest down in Limerick. And so a lot of what we do has to be uniform across both radio stations. We want to give you some examples now, similar to what we did before, where we played you samples of audio and you had to guess the ad. We're going to do something similar now, so you get a better understanding. And I'm going to exit presentation mode, just so this audio.
We've learned our lesson.
We have learned our lesson. Right. So here are some examples you can see on the screen of different types of radio imaging. And then we're going to play you a Spin version and a 98 version, because it's important that you hear how both brands deliver the same thing, but on brand, depending on the station. So branded intros. Does anyone know what a branded intro is? Does anyone want to have a guess before I play something?
It's basically like before a song plays, it would be like mentioning the brands in it, or it'd be saying like being, for example, this is Taylor Swift, you're on Spin, that kind of thing.
Matthews, my man. So yeah, exactly. So a branded intro is essentially where we work the production into the song. We build it in so it becomes seamless. It becomes part of the song itself. And often we will have the artist doing a lot of the talking within that. So I'm going to play you a spin example of that. I can't remember what song I chose, but we're all in for a treat here.
Let's go. Hey, Spin, it's Sigala. This is David Guetta. Hey, what's up? I'm Sam Ryder. Spin plays hit music now.
So that's a current song, Sigala, Sam Ryder. It's called Without You. And you could hear there that actually the artists did the positioning. They introduced themselves. They said the station name. They said the positioning, hit music now. We don't always have that luxury. We often have to use our station voices. But it's great when we can have the artists introing the song and saying the brand. It gives it such a bigger feel and makes it feel like the artists are part of the radio station.
It's great.
So for 98 FM, Pat?
Yeah, 98 FM, we do branded intros as well, but very different to Spin. So Spin is a very cool young brand. So having David Guetta, Dua Lipa, Joel Corey saying Spin is a really, really nice thing. With 98 FM, as I mentioned, it's all about the good times. And between two songs, we want to keep the songs moving. So we want to reduce the length of an intro in a song and brand it as closely as we can. So what Nick does with his artists, we never have artists saying, hey, it's Dua Lipa, hey, it's Calvin Harris. We don't do any of that on 98 FM. We just simply keep it really simple and go 98 FM, Dublin's Good Times, or sometimes just 98 FM. We use a different range, which you'll hear now, of song jingles in the style of the song, and sometimes just station voices to do it. So I've got 3 examples here, I think, which hopefully should play.
All right, let's go.
98 FM.
98 FM.
I was in the club, someone in the bar.
Dublin's good time anthems.
98 FM. I want you to read me.
98 FM.
98.
Dublin's good times.
I still want your hands
That sounds great, yeah.
Very different.
But you can hear the artists singing 98 FM sounds like the artist singing the songs.
Yeah.
So again, you're making that artist association with the music you play, even if they're not saying, hello, my name is Calvin Harris and you're on 98 FM. But it's a similar vibe at working the station branding into the production of the song. Breakfast promos, I'm looking at the time. I see we have about 15 minutes, so we're going to fly through this. We might not play everything here. Breakfast promos, obviously for stations like Spin and 98, we have flagship shows of the brand. There are content-driven shows for Spin. We have Emma, Dave, and Aisling in the morning. I'm going to play you a promo. The reason we make these is to keep the message alive across the day. So once the show is finished, you hear these moments of the show that should hopefully make you want to listen again the next day.
The next morning.
Yeah. So here's one from Spin.
Go! Emma, Dave, and Aisling's golden ticket with 3.
With 3. All for music. Shauna, this is serious now. Do you hear me? Yeah.
Song 5 plays in 3, 2, 1. Start the clock.
Baby, you don't like talking too much about yourself.
Okay, baby, wrote the first
The golden ticket to the 3 Arena! Oh my!
Shauna, do you know how long you have left on the clock? 1 second.
Oh my!
I'm absolutely shaking.
Shauna, every single gig at the 3 Arena for a whole year.
I know.
Shauna, what a player.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thanks so much.
Spins fully charged with Emma, David, Aisling is back tomorrow when you wake up with Now.
So that's an example. That was a big winner we had on Spin.
Very nice winner.
Yeah, she was great. Sometimes you get winners that give you absolutely nothing. That's very hard.
That was a lovely moment.
Yeah,
You could hear the excitement in the voice.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
So for yours, Pat.
Yeah, slightly different. This is just a sample of Rebecca and Brendan, who present 98 FM's Big Breakfast on the same time as, well, it would be at the same time as a breakfast show. But Rebecca and Brendan, on this clip, it's showing content from the show to give you a flavour of their personalities, the callers, and just what we're about in the morning.
98 FM's Big Breakfast with Rebecca and Brendan.
This morning we are chatting about driving test and driving lesson stories.
Here is Emma's driving test story.
I failed my first driving test because someone told me that they provided the car. So I walked to my test. So he failed me for not having a car there. He failed me for not having a car there.
Jesus Christ. Who turns up to a driving test and no car? Can't be real.
98 FM's Big Breakfast.
With Now. Join the home of brilliant entertainment with shows, movies, and sport on Now.
98 FM.
In fairness, who turns up without a car to a driving test?
But you can hear the difference in the two promos, both doing the same thing, selling a breakfast show and giving you a real flavour of the personality of the presenters and also the tone of the show. And you'll have noticed as well, Nick's promo was tagged with a 3 sponsor. Ours was tagged with a Now sponsor, Now TV sponsor. That's an example of sponsorship where it's a client position on the show, but it's not quite an ad. It's just being partnered with the show.
Absolutely.
Which is a good example.
In the interest of time, I'm going to skip past some of these sponsor credits. They run into ad breaks or out of ad breaks. If a show is sponsored by a certain client, that'll be that messaging, but it's a client-led message in the tone of voice of the radio station. Big station promos. We might come back to that. News. We all know every station plays news at the top of the hour. How that news intro happens. Will I play news?
Play yours, just to give you an example. So just to say, news happens on every radio station across the country, normally at the same time at the top of the hour. And you could start the news and be real. It's 3 o'clock. There's been an accident or something has happened in the world, and it can be very flat, but we need to own the style and tone. So setting up the news with a proper piece of imaging and a good bed will really make the difference, as you'll hear now.
So this is for Spin.
Across Ireland on FM.
And around the world on the Go Loud player.
And here.
Play Spin.
So that's Spin's news opener, and for comparison, 98 FM.
On radio, on the 98 FM app, powered by Go Loud, and on your smart speaker.
Play 98 FM.
98. At 1, I'm Laura Donnelly.
So we're doing the same thing, but both are on brand for the radio station. I suppose the last one I'll play there, out of breaks, or I call them bumpers, is an ad break finishes, music's about to begin. You want to take that opportunity. There's 10 seconds there between the ads and the music to reposition your brand and remind people who they're listening to, and turn up the energy a little bit before we kick into the music. So you often want to reposition the music as well, your music positioning statement. So this is something that Spin runs.
You the number one. Spin 103.8 is Emma, Dave, and Ashling in the morning, and 10 spin hits in a row.
Oh, I clicked away from it.
You the number one. Spin 103.8 is Emma, Dave, and Ashling in the morning, and 10 spin hits in a row all day while you work.
Spin 103.8.
So when the breakfast show launched there only 2 months ago, across the day, we changed our positioning to be wake up with Emma, Dave, and Ashling and get 10 in a row all day while you work. So that's out of the break repositioning for the music. And for 98 FM,
Dublin's Good Times.
98 FM's Big Breakfast from 7 a.m. We're here to wake you up. Playing big, bouncy beats.
This is what you came for.
Suzanne Kane from 10.
Dixie Cat Long, and I'll look after the tunes.
I love it. Keeping your mornings moving.
98 FM.
Great. Both repositioning the station out of the ad break back to the music. Do you want to add anything?
No, that's it. I wish we'd more time to go through more stuff, but we'll keep it moving.
We are flying through.
It's a shame.
Does anyone have any questions? I know we're tight for time. I'm going to keep going. Okay, we keep going. Let's look under the hood of. We did it with an ad, so let's do it with some imaging. I'm going to open. I'm going to open a session.
Okay.
A Pro Tools session. Hang on, let's look at us. Let's not look at that. So they're one of the power intros I played earlier, the Segala track where we built the artists in saying the intro to songs. Does everyone remember that? I'm going to show you the session where I put that together. And
Nick, just for a branded intro, why would you create a branded intro? Why not just let the song start as normal? Because I know people have this, what? We all know what a branded intro is, but why do we do it?
Yeah. Well, branding for a start, again, between every song, radio stations tell you who you're listening to. So again, for JNLR, recall, and for ratings. But if you can do that in your tone of voice and make it sound big and exciting and own the artists that you play, it's going to add to that listener experience. One thing that we always find is that the audience doesn't necessarily notice it, but boy, do they notice it when it's not there.
Yeah.
You can tell when something's flat or feeling a little bit lethargic.
Yeah.
but you won't know if something's moving at a normal pace. You won't notice why you like it, but if it's missing, you will.
You'll never hear two songs on 98 roll back to back without an ident or 98 FM piece of imaging in the middle. And if you do, there's something wrong.
Something's happened. The studio's on fire.
I'm running to the studio to see what's on. It should never happen. We only have small spaces on our schedule where we can actually remind people who they're listening to. And if you're driving to Tesco for 10 minutes and you have us on for 10 minutes and two songs play, it's really important that we tell people what station they're tuned to in that 10 minutes. And between two songs is the only chance you're going to get to do that. So
absolutely,
really
yeah,
important.
Absolutely.
How are we looking, Nick?
Right, let's have a look under the hood. So this is, you recognize Pro Tools from Pat's ad there a minute ago. So I'm just going to really quickly explain how my session looks, because they're all quite different, but the same, right? So for Spin, we have two voiceovers, and we touched on a minute ago, Cabrina asked a question about processing the voice. So we have these channels that we have put processing on. For me, these three pink channels are for my female station voice. We have two station voices, a male and a female. And the male voice sits on the blue channels, and these are all set up ready to go. These things here are called plugins. I've added as I've kind of gone along. This red track bypasses all processing because that's the actual song, which has been sent to us by the record company and has been processed. I don't need to double process it. We then move into this track, which I use to amplify. I call them shouts. It's like, you might hear "come on" or "let's go" or stuff like that. That sits on that channel, and it boosts it, and it adds a bit of brightness and sizzle to it. These three yellow ones here are for what we call sound design, and I'll isolate it so you can hear it in a second. But essentially, sound design is, I want to use the word sound effects, but they're slightly different when it comes to imaging. It kind of aids the flow of the piece of production, and you'll understand more when I isolate that in a second. The green channels, these ones here, is music. So essentially, these are parts of the song. So let's listen in full, and then I'll isolate each part so you can hear it. I'll actually make this a lot smaller so everything fits into. How do I do that? Like this. Small. Yeah. Okay. So you can see more channels here. So let's play it in full so we remember what we're listening to. Oh no. Don't tell me. Hold on. Okay. Should work. Okay. I don't know what's going on.
Is something record enabled, do you?
Is it? Do you see record enabled? Sorry, guys.
Try it again.
Interesting. I'm just going to make them all big again. Sorry, guys. Bear with us here. I apologize.
All good.
Okay.
It's all good.
I promise it'll be worth it. There's nothing record enabled.
Is this how you win gold at the imaging for the IMRO
Yeah,
Awards?
you don't get to see this part at the IMROs. You just get the sexy finished shiny thing.
Try it again. What's happening? Nothing moving.
Do you know what? I'm just gonna
do a quick.
I'm gonna close it real quick and
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, go. Let's. Any questions?
We can ask any while we reboot this. Does anybody have any questions from the bits you've heard or what we've talked about so far?
Anything about imaging or production?
I have a question for you.
Go on, Nessa.
Of your competitors, so not 98 and not anybody from Bauer and not Spin, who do you think, competitors or other stations, who do you think does really good imaging?
Are you talking about in Ireland or in the world or
anywhere? Kind of just if they wanted, if people wanted to listen to, because all stations are online and you can listen anywhere.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I would say is listen to stations outside of Ireland because different cultures, different ways of doing stuff. For me, the stations I would listen to the most outside of Ireland, I really like BBC Radio 1. I think they can take risks where other stations can't because they're funded by the license fee and they don't have as much commitment. So they'll do stuff that we'll never be able to do, but they can often inspire you to create. You hear different production tricks that they use. Another station that I listen to a lot is Radio 538 in the Netherlands.
I thought you were going to go for the Ocht.
I was going to 538. They're in the Netherlands. They're a wonderful radio brand. They've been on the go many, many years, but they have a lovely way of doing their imaging and their production. It's very slick, very hot, and they manage to always make it sound really, really popping on air.
Yeah.
They just have a secret sauce that they sprinkle on everything, and it sounds wonderful. So in the UK, I really like Radio 1 for just the style of what they do. For commercial radio, Radio 53 Oct for me in the Netherlands. But then I also really enjoy listening to talk radio, because talk radio, they don't have music, but they still have to brand it themselves. And when you listen to, for example, stations like LBC, their signature tunes, and even RT Radio 1 launched a new imaging package there about 9 or 10 months ago, which has really given the station a lift. I think it sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
So they'd be the two talk stations where I feel, wow, they've imaged themselves really well. But it's up to your individual taste as well, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, I think I have this working, guys.
Okay, cool.
Pray for me. Right, let's press play.
Let's go. Hey, Spin, it's Sigala. This is David Guetta. Hey, what's up? I'm Sam Ryder. Spin plays hit music now.
We've spoken for weeks.
Cool. So let's isolate section by section because there's a lot going on, right? So I will isolate just the VO, just the voiceover, and let's have a listen to how that sounds on its own.
Let's go. Hey, Spin, it's Sigala. This is David Guetta. Hey, what's up? I'm Sam Ryder. Spin plays hit music now.
We've spoken for weeks.
Cool. So there's a lot of processing on the voices. You can hear they don't sound natural, and a lot of that's happening on these channels. But it's done to boost them and make them sit on top of the music and give it that sizzle to sound big and exciting. So that's the voice. I'm going to isolate sound design. Remember I said sound design aids the flow of the production. So this on its own is going to sound really weird. You'll probably hear this and think, what is that? But in context, it works.
Okay, I can't hear anything. I don't know, is that just me?
Oh, wait, did you guys get that?
It's very low.
Yeah.
It's very, very low.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Was the voice
start
Chuck?
of it.
No, I heard
start-
I heard the very start little crackle. That was it.
Will I try again?
Yeah.
Okay, interrupt me if it's just really bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
I can't hear that.
Can't hear anything. That's so weird. I don't know why it's playing up. Okay, all right.
Could you hear the voice
Listen.
start or?
There was no voices. It was just like a load of sound effects.
Oh yeah, but could you hear the voices?
Could you hear David Guetta and Joel Carter?
No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You could.
Okay.
Just the sound. Would it be
Interesting.
that it's in mono maybe in there? I don't know.
Possibly.
Okay, it's coming up to about 20 past though, guys. That's the only thing I will say.
You're fine. Look. It's yeah. Does anyone have any questions based on that? What you're saying there?
Basically.
Yeah,
the
where'd you get
sound
your little sound effects?
I make them.
In the booth every day. I say, right, give me one that goes down, now one that comes up, and he just stands in front of the mic. So, yeah, no, much like the commercial music that we did in the ad, there are subscription services out there that you subscribe to, production services that give what we call work parts and sound design, and there's like production music and artist drops and. A lot of the artist drops we collect ourselves over the years. We share a folder. Over the 10 years we've been here, there's been pretty much any artist that's been big has come through the building, and when they're in, you get them to say the station name, and
they're not allowed to leave until they say, "I love Spin."
We lock the doors, but they
yeah.
expect it, so it's all right. Yeah, does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Cool. Anybody else?
Yeah, can I just ask actually, do you know, like for the sound effects and all the like music and stuff like that you'd use, like do you have to sit and go through these websites day after day to find the right piece? Like does it take a long time basically just to scroll through everything? And
I think you get better at it. You know what you're looking for. You can there's search terms. So for commercials it might be a lot harder because you don't know what you're looking for. In a commercial, when we were making that bike ad, Pat didn't essentially know the piece of music he wanted. He might have known some search terms like bouncy, happy, vibrant. He might have searched those terms and found 1,000 tracks and picked one. Whereas with production, it's kind of different because for this piece here, I'm using the instrumental of the actual track, so I didn't have to look for anything. And likewise, if I'm making a station-led promo, I'll often use songs from our playlist or pieces of production music that are on brand.
Yeah, I will spend some time, like the music positioner we played you just there on the last section, which was selling our music, our breakfast show and our morning show. I spent some time making sure I was finding songs that were suitable for a playlist, that were in the same key, because they're all talking to each other, sitting over each other. So it was important that they were harmonically sounding okay in the correct key. And then I will spend some time looking for the correct explosion or wipe. You could have 4,000 sound effects, but you need that one that just makes it sound right in the right place. It sounds weird, but it's like a chef and he's looking for that final ingredient to add to his dish. Or there's someone baking a cake and she's really keen to have the right sprinkles. It literally comes down to that.
I don't know about you, but when I started this many years ago, I would spend half an hour looking for the right bang or zap or wipe. And now it's I don't think about it half as much.
Some of it just happens. And also over the years, you build up your own collection of stuff. So I have my favorite wipes and swishes, and Nick probably has the same. So they're my go-tos. But now and again, I will explore the world of sound design and find some new ones, because you have to keep up with it. But there's so much out there. You can also make your own.
Okay, thank you.
If you have the time.
That's a different session though. Are we good with everybody else? Because I think we're at the time that we need to be at.
Okay.
I just want to say a massive thank you to Pat and to Nick. A huge amount of work obviously went into that presentation. The ad was brilliant. Technical hitches were a learning curve for everybody. So really enjoyable. It's really interesting to see the way just how you build the blocks, how you put them together, and the elements that you use. And there's an art and a magic to it that you never think of, because it just always sounds so seamless when you listen to the radio stations that you work on. So
Nessa,
thanks a million, guys.
You always know the right thing to say, Nessa. Thank you.
I'll just end by saying, nobody knows what we do. And when I started out in radio, I didn't know this job existed. And sometimes when you're in your position, you can be blinded by presenting and producing. There is a whole other world in a radio station that's not on air or front of house. And it's a lot of fun doing what we do. And we're very lucky to do it. But if you ever have an interest in audio production or sound design, or even just script writing or copywriting, it's a wonderful journey to go on, because there's so many opportunities in radio. And it's so much fun. So just consider it when on your journey that you're on, because I don't think, as Nessa said earlier on, no one really shouts about this sort of stuff. And it's a shame, because it's a great part of radio.
No, it's brilliant.
Nessa, did you want us to talk about an assignment, or are you going to do that?
If you have one to talk about, if you want to share it with me later.
Up to you. We do have it, but
go for it. If you've got a few minutes, then it would be great.
Sure. And just to, Nessa tried to paint us as the bad guys there, but I will say she offered the assignment, not me.
No. I asked them, but I could break the bad news to the guys. But if you want to go through the assignment, yes, please.
Essentially, we've put together, and I'll send it to Nessa so she can share it with you guys. It's 2 tasks that you guys, I believe you all have Adobe Audition. We'd love for you to try and recreate some of the stuff you've seen here tonight, and we're going to give you all the work parts. So the ad that Pat built, and a what we call a sweeper for spin. So a sweeper is the piece of production that goes between 2 songs. So there's the first task, the commercial, and the second task is a sweeper for spin. And we've put all of the work parts in a folder so you can access them and play around with them, and really just have fun trying to create something and make it work yourself. That's what we've done.
And just
that's brilliant.
If you find yourself with spare time in your hands, play with Adobe Audition, drag some audio in, chop it up, splice it up, put effects on stuff. It's how I started, by just messing with the program. It's very easy to use. Don't be scared by all the different plugins. Open them up, see what they do, and you'll stumble across something magic, and you'll just be blown away by what you can do with it. So have fun.